Photography occupies a special place in culture. It allows not only to notice and preserve the moment, but also to convey through decades the atmosphere, emotions, and significance of events. I have collected historical photos that will help you remember significant events, phenomena, famous personalities, triumphs and tragedies of the past. Man, Tree and Hurricane Carol. Brooklyn, 1954. We Want Beer. Union members against prohibition. Newark, New Jersey, October 1931. Food delivery in Tokyo, 1940s. Henry Ford on the first automobile he designed, Michigan, 1896. Peter Romanovsky and Ilya Rabinovich playing live chess on Palace Square, Leningrad, 1924. Six-year-old Carrie Fisher watches her mother, Debbie Reynolds, perform at the Riviera Hotel, Las Vegas, 1963. Photographer Lawrence Schiller. Unemployed serviceman, Long Island, 1946. Photographer Leonard McComb. Endurance competition for pipe smokers at Yale University, 1959. Photographer Yale Joel. Graf Zeppelin airship over Gran Via in Madrid, 1930. Photographer Luis Sanchez Portela. Human barrier, 1931. Photo agency of George W. Harris and Martha Ewing. Infant races. Popular sporting events in New Jersey from 1946 to 1955. The windows of an antique store on Lulichang Street, Beijing, 1965. Kishinev, 1940. Photographer Georgy Petrusov. Priest Luis Padillo and a wounded soldier during an uprising in Venezuela, 1962. Photographer Hector Rondon Lovera. Animators drawing a deer from life in the Disney Studios Pavilion, 1942. Traditional Spain, 1979. Photographer Cristina Garcia Rodero. Opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, Moscow, 1980. The Troubles, Northern Ireland, Londonderry, 1971. Beach photographer in Herne Bay, England, 1963. Photographer David Hearn. A Kangaroo against a photographer, England, 1967. Globalization, La Mancha, Spain, 1961. Photographer Oriel Maspons. Opening of the Volga-Don shipping canal, 1952. Pioneers playing chess, 1930s. Photographer Boris Ivanitsky. A Seneca photographic model named Awe EU, meaning beautiful flower, 1908. Christmas in Berlin, 1907. Photographer Philip Kester. Shampoo advertisement, 1920s. Parade on Red Square, 1937. Photographer Nikolai Kuleshov. A Girl on a Tractor, Hungary, 1956. Photographer Shandor Bauer. Players on Tvetnoy Boulevard in Moscow, 1950s. Testing defense against gas attacks, Hextable, England, 1938. Yuri Gagarin with his family in the Moscow region. Nazaré Estremadura, Portugal, 1976. Photographer Josef Kudelka. In a Kindergarten, 1958. Photographer Willem Kropp. A policeman writes a ticket for wearing a bikini on the beach in Rimini, Italy, 1957. Prince Charles dancing Gopak, 1980s. The first Pioneer Parade, Moscow, June 1924. Spoon making, Chernuka Village, Nizhny Novgorod Province, 1897. One-wheeled motorcycle, invention of M. Goventos de Udine, 1931. Jesse Owens, four-time Olympic champion at the 1936 Berlin Games. Venetian Cafe Florian serves coffee in the flooded Piazza San Marco. Laundresses on the Moscow River, 1925. Louis Pasteur in his laboratory, 1880. The largest camera to capture the most beautiful train. A school bus in Maine, USA, 1930. Ainu indigenous people of Sakhalin at a bear festival, 1905. Grosvenor Hotel Bar near Westland Road train station, Dublin, 1963. Photographer Edward Quinn morning exercise, 1937. Unquenchable light, Moscow University at night, 1964. Night Montmartre, Paris, 1950. Javelin throwing, 1933. 15 historical photos that help you better understand this life. As soon as people had the ability to take pictures, we started to preserve all of life's significant events on film. I find it interesting to look at historical photos of different events because they can tell you more about what happened than other evidence. Many years have passed since the times of black and white photos, but thanks to them, you can immerse yourself in the history of life in this world. I have collected for you a selection of interesting photos that can tell you a lot about our world. People see off the Titanic. The Titanic set sail from the port of Southampton in the UK on its first and only voyage. People in the port enthusiastically saw off the unsinkable ship, and its arrival was expected in New York in 1912. Many people know that the Titanic did not make it to New York Harbor. Of course, the people who saw the ship off on its long journey could not have known anything about the sad fate of the ship. Alexei Leonov in outer space. In 1965, Leonov was the first person in the world to go into outer space. The Soviet cosmonaut was photographed at this historic moment with a special camera C-97, which was attached to the hull of the ship. 2 television cameras on the ship also followed Leonov's spacewalk, but unfortunately, they had a low resolution. Kate Camberley with her dogs. Kate Camberley lived in the United Kingdom. Since 1943, this woman was involved in dog and cat rescue, opening a shelter for homeless animals in her home. In total, Kate rescued about 600 dogs. To operate the large dog shelter, the Englishwoman collected donations and took good care of her pets. She also fought officials who wanted to harm her dogs. The world knows about the tragedy that happened in the States on September 11th. In 2011, there was a series of criminal attacks on the Twin Towers in New York. A lot of people lost their lives that day. The world mourned along with the whole of America. The moments of the attacks on the skyscrapers were caught on CCTV cameras and in the lenses of random passers-by. White Americans joined the protest against the oppression of Black Americans in 1963. It was in Washington, D.C. There was a struggle for jobs and freedom. Brigitte Bardot is not only an outstanding French actress, she has been a fierce defender of ecology and animals all her life. The prisoners of Auschwitz were liberated by the Soviet army in 1945. Our soldiers attacked the Germans with bayonets, afraid to use artillery so that the prisoners would not be harmed. Computer ENIAC. The year 1945. In 1906, the city of San Francisco was destroyed by an earthquake, and what was left of the city was destroyed by fire. More than 3,000 people died that day, and 400,000 residents were left without property or a roof over their heads. Environmentalist Julia Hill spent 2 years living on a sequoia in California in a special tent to save the ancient tree from being cut down by local companies. It was 1998. With her living in a tree, Julia attracted a lot of attention. Thanks to the girl's actions, a whole section of the old forest was saved from being cut down. Bikerism originated in the States in the 50s. The photo shows women bikers who also took part in this movement and also knew how to fix their motorcycles as well as men. The picture was taken in 1965. These biker women were related to the Hells Angels Biker Association. On August 9, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb codenamed Fat Man on the Japanese city of Nagasaki. The explosion killed about 40,000 people. Thousands more died later from burns and radiation sickness. It was hell. Thousands of people lay dead or injured under the rubble. The city was completely destroyed. Sunset on Mars, 2005. This incredible image was captured by the Mars rover Spirit. The sun setting over the Gusev crater. Not only did the rover take beautiful pictures, its primary mission was to study the Martian atmosphere, as well as ice and dust clouds. The man in the picture is Tenzing Norgay. On May 29, 1953, he and his companion, New Zealander Edmund Hillary, became the first to reach the summit of Mount Everest. They managed to conquer the highest mountain in the world just 3 days before the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, and the world learned about it on the morning of the coronation. On July 20, 1969, mankind left its first footprint not on Earth. Astronaut Neil Armstrong went down in history as the first man to set foot on the surface of the moon. It is a feat that cannot be forgotten. The photo shoots of rock stars who toured Japan in the 1970s and 1980s were almost always shot by local photographer Ko Hasabe. He worked for the Japanese music publication Shinko Music, and starting with the Beatles in 1965, he constantly photographed famous musicians visiting Japan. These 25 images are also Hasabe's own. Rock was not something decent people listened to, Hasabe noted, but it attracted the anti-establishment youth. I was already a little older, so I could take it more coolly. But that doesn't mean rock changed Japan overnight. It's only now that we can look back and see that rock has had a gradual but significant impact on Japanese society. American hard rock band Van Halen poses in roller skates at the Samurai Castle Park in Osaka, September 1979. British band Japan on a rainy day in Kyoto, February 1981. David Bowie at a press conference in Tokyo, April 5, 1973. The band Kiss and Women in Kimono at a reception in Tokyo, March 1977. British rock band The Police in Kurashiki, Okayama Prefecture, January 1981. Led Zeppelin in Hiroshima, September 1971. Santana in Dazaifu, June 26, 1973. Rod Stewart, Ron Wood and Ian McLagan of the rock band The Faces at a reception honouring the musicians in Tokyo, April 1974. Lead singer John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater Revival with geishas at a dinner in Tokyo, February 1972. Led Zeppelin at a shrine in Hiroshima, September 26, 1971. John Lydon in the Akasaka neighborhood, Tokyo, June 1983. Kate Bush in Tokyo, June 1978. Queen in a hotel garden, Tokyo, April 22, 1975. Queen in a Japanese garden, Tokyo, March-April 1976. Kiss in Tokyo, 1978. Suzi Quatro and Len Tukey in Tokyo, 1978. Talking Heads in Kyoto, 1981. Members of Queen stroll in a Japanese garden, Tokyo, April 22, 1975. The Police guitarist Andy Summers in Tokyo, 1981. Creedence Clearwater Revival leader and author of much of the repertoire John Fogerty in Tokyo, 1972. Carlos Santana in the ancient city of Kamakura, 1974. Led Zeppelin in Hiroshima, September 1971. Aerosmith leader Steven Tyler in Kyoto, 1977. Queen and Misa Watanabe in Tokyo, February 13, 1981. U2 in Shinjuku Central Park, Tokyo, November 1983. A Few Seconds Before Joy, 1955. A Victorian couple trying not to laugh while being filmed. Marine Sergeant Frank Pretor feeds an orphaned kitten. He took the kitten in after the mother cat died during the war. Best friends. Brownie gets milk while Blackie waits his turn. Animals used as part of medical therapy. Soviet soldiers of World War II sleeping with a puppy. A little girl holds a penguin fin while walking through London Zoo. A hotel concierge talks to a little dachshund in Piccadilly Square, London. Best friends who are willing to give up their place to sleep. Little girl having fun pretending to chat on the phone, Japan. Soldier shared a banana with a goat. Letter carrier poses with a heavy load of Christmas mail and packages, Chicago. A blind woman relaxes at a local swimming pool under the care of a guide dog. A nun dancing with children. A long-awaited meeting. Crazy golf on the roof of a skyscraper, New York, USA, 1930s. A certain gentleman tries to hit the ball with a club off the head of a woman who is lying at the roof cliff. A really crazy plot. Worry not, he won't miss, for he is a world champion golfer. Golf is an ancient Scottish sport that has roots as far back as the 15th century. It was originally played on open pastures throughout Scotland. Later, the first clubs and rules of the game appeared. Golf first became popular in the UK and then in other countries around the world. Now golf is a popular and prestigious sport played by millions of people around the world. A letter carrier dog at the front, World War I. A little-known fact about World War I is that many animals, including horses, dogs, donkeys, and pigeons, were utilised in various military roles during this conflict. Horses were used to mounted troops, transport equipment, and the wounded. Dogs helped with casualty searches, mine clearance. And, as pictured in the photo, donkeys carried loads and pigeons were used as a means of sending messages. Freed prisoners, World War II. Freed prisoners from the Buchenwald concentration camp. Buchenwald is one of the most tragic sites of World War II, symbolizing the horrors of Nazism and the memory of the millions of innocent victims of this terrible era of history. Gas masks for babies, London, World War II. Exercise with gas masks for babies in a London hospital. At that time, the British capital was being bombed by German aircraft. Fearing an attack by chemical weapons, the British immediately provided everyone with gas masks, even babies. Frightened children in a trench, Great Britain, World War II. The same Great Britain whose inhabitants were shelled. The photo shows children sheltering from bombs in a trench. Jordan and the Ring. It is this photo that became the prototype of the modern Jordan brand logo. Michael Jeffrey Jordan is a legendary American basketball player and is considered one of the best players in the history of the game. One fact about Michael Jordan that is not widely known is that in addition to his success in basketball, he was also a trialist in motorsports. In 2004, Jordan created a racing team called Michael Jordan Motorsports that competed in motorcycle racing at the highest level. Post-war chaos, World War I. An unidentified soldier of the Entente forces stands amidst the ruins that remain of the Belgian city of Ypres. World War I was marked by the massive use of artillery pieces. Both sides of the conflict used artillery to suppress enemy positions and cause immense destruction on the battlefields. It is the effects of artillery fire that you see in the photo. Post-war jubilation, Paris, World War II. Entering Paris liberated from the Nazis. Winston Churchill, as always, had a cigar in his teeth. At this moment, a Frenchman comes up to him and gives him a light. A very nice scene, which clearly shows the general joy of people after the end of that bloody conflict. The Kennedy brothers, Hyannisport, USA. Pictured here are the three Kennedy brothers, left to right, Edward, Robert, and John. John would become the 35th President of the United States, but was assassinated in 1963. His brother Robert would later decide to become president in 1968, but was also assassinated in unclear circumstances. Only the third brother lived to a ripe old age and died his own death. Business rivals, 1990s. It is commonly believed that Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, and Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, were bitter enemies, but this is far from true. This photo shows them in a rather friendly setting discussing something. Over the years, Microsoft and Apple have had both cooperation and conflict, including patent litigation. The relationship between these tech giants has seen both quarrels and reconciliations. Total solar eclipse, Netherlands, April 17, 1912. Ordinary commoners have climbed onto the roof of a house to observe a total solar eclipse. In their hands they hold, as I understand, dark glasses to prevent damage to their eyes from direct sunlight. Mad Teacher USA, 1900s. The photo shows Annie Edson Taylor, a schoolteacher who jumped from Niagara Falls in a barrel. By this act, she wanted to, as they say nowadays, make some money, but it didn't work out. After the show, her manager ran away, stealing the barrel in which she did the stunt. The newspapers of the time broadcasted that she wanted to end her life by jumping from the waterfall, but everything went well. Sitting in the barrel and falling from a height of 53 meters, she only received a bruise to the head. She remained a pauper for the rest of her life. Mr. Bean and Princess Diana, Great Britain, 1980s. The princess pokes fun at Rowan Atkinson, who became world famous for his role as Mr. Bean. Rowan Atkinson is a talented entertainer who has captured the hearts of audiences around the world with his unique sense of humor and comedic performances. Rifles of Surrendered Soldiers, World War II. These bayoneted rifles stuck in the ground symbolize the surrendered Soviet soldiers who were unable and unwilling to resist the Nazi onslaught. In the early period of the Great Patriotic War, as many as 6 million people were taken prisoner by the Germans. This was the largest number of prisoners in a single military conflict in history. Many of them faced harsh conditions in captivity, and the fate of many was tragic. Three Lacemakers, Brittany, France, 1920. Roman Colosseum and the Arch of Constantine in 1870, Rome, Italy. Margaret Bourke White at Work, New York, USA, 1930. Two Victorian ladies sculpting a snow maiden, Pangbourne, England, 1892. An Absaroki Mother and Her Child, Montana, USA, 1908. The Absaroki Indian tribe is better known as the Crow tribe, although Absaroki does not actually mean crow. Most researchers agree that this ancient word indicates rather any feathered raptor. A tourist and his car on the edge of the Grand Canyon, Arizona, USA, 1914. The Grand Canyon, or Grand Canyon, is one of the deepest canyons in the world. It is located on the Colorado Plateau, Arizona, USA, within the Grand Canyon National Park. The length of the canyon is 446 kilometers. Width varies from 6 to 29 kilometers, depth up to 1,600 meters. Mother and son posing for a portrait, Ireland, 1890. The son is holding the lyrics to a song. He was a singer. Spectators watch the eruption of Vesuvius, Bay of Naples, Italy, 1944. A Canadian policeman guards a pharmacy during flooding, Ontario, Canada, 1974. People ride on the ice bridge that forms each year at Niagara Falls in winter, 1911. The Niagara River never freezes, but sometimes large masses of ice gather and pile up on the river, forming a natural bridge that stretches to the foot of the falls and 3 kilometers downstream. The views of the waterfall from the frozen platform are magnificent. The facade of a department store with 5 floors hung with coats, Copenhagen, Denmark, 1936. The sale attracted so many customers that the police had to intervene. All the coats were sold. Soviet dancers and gymnasts rehearsed for the opening ceremony of the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow, USSR, July 17, 1980. Men examine the painting Mona Lisa exhibited at the Uffizi Gallery, Florence, Italy, December 1913. The painting was stolen from the Louvre by Italian Vincenzo Perugia in August 1911. In 1914, Mona Lisa was returned to France, where it took its place in the Louvre under round-the-clock armed guards. By the way, it was the theft that made the painting so popular. Also, at one time, one of the suspects in the theft was Pablo Picasso. Sagrada Familia, Barcelona, Spain, 1905. The construction of the temple began in 1882. The first project was designed by architect Francisco del Villar, whose place at the end of 1883 was taken by Antonio Gaudí, who significantly changed the original project. The construction of the church has not been finished for 134 years. The highest tower, representing Christ, has not been built yet. French artist Claude Monet, with his wife Alice Oschede, Venice, Italy, 1908. Claude Monet is one of the founders of Impressionism. The artist ranks third in the list of the most expensive painters of all time. Women at work at the Canon factory, Japan, 1959. Today, mega corporation Canon is a manufacturer of office equipment, from printers and fax machines to scanners. Photographic equipment occupies only a small percentage of the total volume of devices produced by the company. George Davey, a 10-year-old boy, was sentenced to a month's hard labour in Wandsworth Prison for stealing 2 rabbits, London, England, 1872. Subscribe to our channel to not miss new interesting videos. The late 1980s and early 1990s marked a fascinating transition in women's fashion, blending the opulence of one decade with the emerging simplicity of the next. This period saw a shift in cultural attitudes that reflected directly in the clothes people wore, as vibrant, structured looks of the 1980s gradually gave way to the understated and casual aesthetic of the 1990s. For young women especially, fashion was not just about keeping up with trends, but about expressing individuality in an era that balanced optimism with rebellion. The late 1980s retained many iconic elements of the decade's style: bold colors, oversized silhouettes, and a penchant for power dressing that symbolized ambition and independence. Young women experimented with shoulder pads, sequined party dresses, acid-wash jeans, and flashy accessories, often emulating the larger-than-life looks of pop icons like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. By the early 1990s, however, the mood shifted. Minimalism started gaining traction, influenced by a growing backlash against the excess of the previous decade. The rise of grunge music, fueled by bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, introduced an anti-fashion sentiment that quickly took hold in mainstream culture. Flannel shirts, ripped jeans, combat boots, and oversized sweaters became staples, embodying a casual, effortlessly cool look that rejected the polished perfection of earlier trends. At the same time, the casual chic style emerged, offering a softer take on simplicity. T-shirts paired with high-waisted jeans, hoodies, sneakers, and slip dresses layered over shirts became defining looks. This set of photographs, discovered by Stephen Martin and later shared on Flickr, offers a vivid glimpse into the fashion styles of young women in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The collection captures candid moments that show the unique blend of bold 1980s trends and the emerging minimalist aesthetics of the early 1990s. In 1885, in Waco, Texas, a Brooklyn-born pharmacist named Charles Alderton crafted a unique soft drink that would later be known as Dr. Pepper. Designed to stand out with a one-of-a-kind flavor, this carbonated beverage quickly gained popularity, setting the foundation for a brand that still thrives more than 140 years later on store shelves worldwide. Alderton worked at Morrison's Old Corner drugstore in Waco, where he spent time experimenting with different soft drink recipes at the soda fountain. His creations intrigued patrons, who began requesting the new drink, soon calling it a Waco. Recognizing its potential, Alderton shared his formula with store owner Wade Morrison, who branded the beverage as Dr. Pepper, later stylized without the period as Dr. Pepper. The brand made its commercial debut in 1885, notably preceding Coca-Cola by a year, and later garnered national attention at the 1904 Louisiana Purchase Exposition. As Dr. Pepper's popularity surged, Alderton and Morrison found themselves struggling to meet rising demand. Robert S. Lazenby, the owner of the Circle A Ginger Ale Company, saw promise in Dr. Pepper and offered his expertise in manufacturing and distribution. With Alderton choosing not to pursue the business side, he entrusted Morrison and Lazenby to take over the production and expansion of the brand. In its early days, Dr. Pepper was marketed with bold health claims, promoting itself as a drink that aids digestion and restores vim, vigor, and vitality. The origins of the Dr. Pepper name are the subject of much speculation. One common theory suggests that the doctor was added to convey a healthful image, a common practice in product marketing during that era. Another popular story links the name to a real-life physician, Dr. Charles T. Pepper of rural Retreat, Virginia. According to this account, Wade Morrison, the owner of the drugstore where Dr. Pepper was created, may have named the drink in honor of Dr. Pepper, who had given him his first job. A different theory connects the pep in pepper to pepsin, a digestive enzyme that helps break down proteins, reflecting the early belief that the drink had health benefits. Alternatively, the name might have been chosen to bring out its energizing qualities. Many early sodas were marketed as brain tonics, and the pep may have referred to the boost in vitality it promised. In the 1950s, Dr. Pepper's logo received a facelift. Designers slanted the text and adjusted the font for a more modern look, deciding to remove the period after Doctor to avoid confusion with Dye, enhancing both style and legibility. From 1910 to 1914, Dr. Pepper promoted itself with the slogan "King of Beverages." In the 1920s and 1930s, the brand introduced Old Doc as its iconic mascot, portraying a classic country doctor complete with a monocle and top hat, embodying a trusted, friendly figure. In the 1950s, Dr. Pepper launched the slogan "The Friendly Pepper Upper," ushering in an era where it became a staple on the American music scene, even featured on Dick Clark's American Bandstand. As tastes and times evolved, so did the slogans. The brand reintroduced itself with the tagline, "The most misunderstood soft drink," to emphasize its unique flavor, later shifting to "the most original soft drink ever in the whole wide world" in the 1970s, to reinforce its one-of-a-kind appeal. In 1977, Dr. Pepper advertising was marked by the famous "Be a Pepper" campaign, followed by "Be You." As with the formula for Coca-Cola, the formula for Dr. Pepper is a trade secret, and allegedly the recipe is kept as two halves in safe deposit boxes in two separate Dallas banks. In the 1960s and 1970s, long before he stepped onto the world stage, Barack Obama was a bright-eyed boy with an infectious smile and a big future ahead. These rare childhood photos capture his early years, showing sweet, everyday moments that highlight the warmth and closeness of his family life. Growing up between Hawaii and Indonesia, young Barack experienced a unique blend of environments that shaped his outlook long before politics entered the picture. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Barack Obama as an infant, 1961. Barack Obama was born on August 4, 1961, at Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children in Honolulu, Hawaii. He is the only president born outside the contiguous 48 states. He was born to an 18-year-old American mother and a 27-year-old Kenyan father. His mother, Ann Dunham, 1942 to 1995, hailed from Wichita, Kansas, and had a diverse heritage that included English, Welsh, German, Swiss, and Irish ancestry. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Barack Obama as a toddler, 1962. Obama's father, Barack Obama Sr., was born into the Luo ethnic group in Nyanza Province, Kenya. His early life was spent herding goats, but he was determined to create a different future for himself. Through hard work and ambition, he earned a scholarship that enabled him to leave Kenya and pursue his dreams of higher education in Hawaii. While studying at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Obama Sr. met Ann Dunham. The couple married on February 2, 1961, and their son Barack was born just 6 months later. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Little Obama is seen playing in the ocean as a child. As a young child, Obama had limited contact with his father. When Barack Sr. moved to Massachusetts to attend Harvard University and work toward a PhD, the family dynamics began to shift. The couple officially separated a few months after Obama's birth, and their divorce was finalized in March 1964 when Barack was only 2 years old. Soon after, Obama Sr. returned to Kenya, leaving Ann to raise their son in Hawaii. In 1965, Ann Dunham married Lolo Soetoro, a fellow student from Indonesia attending the University of Hawaii. A year later, the family relocated to Jakarta, where Obama gained a half-sister, Maya Soetoro Ung, born in 1970. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Barack Obama is seen as a child with his maternal grandfather, Stanley Dunham, in Hawaii, in an undated family snapshot from the 1960s. From ages 6 to 10, Barack Obama was registered in school as Barry and attended local Indonesian language schools for a total of 3.5 years. His time in Jakarta allowed him to become fluent in Indonesian as a child, a skill that would remain with him throughout his life. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Barack walks along Waikiki Beach shortly before he and his mother moved from Hawaii to Indonesia to live with her second husband, Lolo Soetoro, in 1967. In 1971, Obama returned to Honolulu to live with his maternal grandparents, Madeline and Stanley Dunham. He enrolled at Punahou School, a private college preparatory institution where he received a scholarship that enabled him to attend from 5th grade until his graduation in 1979. During high school, he continued to go by the nickname Barry, which he held on to until his visit to Kenya in 1980. From 1972 to 1975, Obama lived with his mother and half-sister, Maya Soetoro, in Hawaii, while his mother pursued her graduate studies in anthropology at the University of Hawaii. Young Barack Obama childhood photos. Barack Obama on Waikiki Beach before his mother married Lolo Soetoro and moved with Barack and her new husband to Indonesia. Here, he's in a lifeguard stand next to the famous pink Waikiki hotel, the Royal Hawaiian. Reflecting on his years in Honolulu, Obama noted, "The opportunity that Hawaii offered to experience a variety of cultures in a climate of mutual respect became an integral part of my worldview and the foundation for the values that I hold most dear." He has also openly discussed his experimentation with alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine during his teenage years as a means to escape the pressures of self-identity. Obama was a member of the Choom Gang, a term they used to refer to their group of friends who spent time together smoking marijuana. Young Barack Obama childhood photos.